July 1st version of the Little Calumet River Basin Development Commission. I'm Dan Repay. That's Tom Wyszynski, who's taking notes and drawing up
Taking
the
notes.
roster for and plays possibly for the Purdue basketball team.
Putting together my parlays for tonight.
Well, I mean, you guys skipped out on a couple players that I'm sitting in the background screaming about.
That's
But
that just tells us that we're just Purdue's loaded.
and I agree with you.
They're stacked.
Lawyers toast, and I don't care if he lifts weights. If you were listening earlier, I don't care. These are my opinions as well, but I don't care. Lawyer's just not fast enough, and watching the plays, and then just really briefly, and they talked about it. Tom Kyleman, good guy, first I think town manager of Maryville. Of course, everyone knew him from BP. Went to some Bears games and to some other events with him. So solid individual. And when I got the call yesterday, it wasn't great. So it's tough, but condolences to his wife Kim and his two daughters. Good people all around, and that's why you just got to keep on living, man. Because
cycle of life.
it just happens.
I
And
was just commenting with Jim. Still the Jeff Bridges
Yeah.
passing affects me, and young guys like that go down, and you're like, you start looking at your own mortality in it. But condolences to the family and his wife, and even being a big impact in the region. So everyone knew him as a doer. So
he did. He did a lot, and he did a lot probably that people don't realize, and he didn't really seek a lot of credit for it. So, that's going to be a tough one. So, anywho, how do we transition to Little Calumet River on July 1st
well,
when
we're,
it's
we're
sunny
celebrating.
as heck?
We celebrated the summer solstice. Now we're into the I would call it the storm and rainy season, and we've had a few of those roll through.
Yeah.
And the good news is, folks, that my executive director, Mr. Repay, along with our partners along the river, have made sure that everything's been cleared out and we're ready for the rainy season. And when something comes up, we address it immediately, and to make sure that the river is flowing. That's what we want. We want everything flowing, and we don't any impedance in the river, because that's what caused the 2008 flood. When you don't watch what's going on and you're not paying attention to blockages, you're going to have problems.
I'm going to regret saying this, but we've been, we've had some showers come through and some storms come through, and mainly they've hit south and some Crown Point, Maryville. But we need really a good rain for just to make the system flush itself out.
Yeah.
I mean, it is dry. It's been dry. We still continue to do work. It's good for our maintenance work because we can get into places that are better. And we've got 4 different crews all across Lake County working in conjunction with the surveyor's office and the drainage board to identify those areas that maybe have not been touched in a while. So we've got a crew in Dyer. We've got a crew in Griffith. One is in Gary. And we're about to send someone into the Hobart area, take care of some of those tributaries. And so it's good from that standpoint. We're able to get some work because it's not wet, but we're still, I still wouldn't mind something to help us, because we have normal, what we call choke points, where it's easy for us to access it and get it out. Some of these areas that we're dealing with now are more remote and things that it takes a little bit of time and effort to get to.
Because it's not just the Little Calumet River that goes from the state line to the Porter County line that we take care of. It's the tributaries that run into it now to make sure Deer Creek, Beaver Dam area,
Niles Ditch, Hart
Katy
Ditch.
March Ditch, Hart Ditch. You go down the list.
Spring Ditch. I mean,
if these areas aren't cleared and cleaned, then everything starts backing up, and then it's not just we got problems in the river, we got problems in other places within Lake County. And the Little Calumet River Basin is not only responsible for the Little Calumet River itself, but the entire watershed. And we've been focused over the last, since we got our funding. 2013, to solve problems within the watershed, to make sure that, I won't say streets don't flood, but the water is flowing. So when there's a big event, the water can get to where it's supposed to go in a orderly fashion.
I mean, we're blessed with some good partners in the communities of Maryville. I mean, all the public works folks, and we
Can't say enough about all the different partners that have stepped up and they realize we're there for them,
yeah.
and we're going to help them solve their problems. And we're not the tooth fairy where we're just you put the tooth and it's always going to show up when when the tooth goes under the pillow. But if it's an important project, we're it's going to be considered and it's going to be funded. And we're getting close to I won't call it the linchpin, but one of the last phases of getting everything done along Deep River, which is the Lake George Dam.
Yeah.
They wanted that looked at, and we're in the process of doing that right now.
Yeah, we awarded that to DLZ and SEH.
Yeah.
They were a joint group, and so if you're in the Hobart area, the dam itself is a maintenance nightmare. It doesn't really provide the best flood relief for downtown, and certainly so all of my fun people that love me up in Crown Point, like water from Crown Point goes through Deep River, and we need to make sure it's designed properly so that all that water from Winfield and St. John and Crown Point and Maryville make it through Hobart in a manner that's efficient and effective, also gets through Deep River so that Little Cal can drain.
Because folks, where's the bulk of the building going on right now? It's in Winfield. It's in Crown Point. It's in St. John. It's in Dyer.
Maryville just put up $2 million warehouse.
So when you put up a warehouse and you take land that was accepting the water out, the water is going to go somewhere. It's going to go to us. And the good news for our situation is we figure stuff like that in. We're constantly having our engineers look at what's the impact of more of this or more of that. And we're in the process of doing that right now. We've got a couple of studies going on that are looking at the impact of the
Burke Engineering actually is
existing, what's happening right now, and how it affects us and how it affects the flow of the river. And we're always continuously looking for ways to give relief valves throughout the system. So Dan's not worried about, I got 6 inches of water coming. Well, we got plenty of storage and we got plenty of places for that water to go.
And we keep on trying to accumulate storage, whether it's through a tax sale or through people that want to just sell it off, or through our partnerships with any number of nature conservancy district or the Audubon, where they get land donated to them, and we're like, that's wonderful. We don't want to stop development, but we have to plan for it, and that's why we're doing the modeling, as Tom said, that hasn't been done since like beginning of this project. We did some minor modeling, but now we're doing a major model for the whole watershed, so that we make sure that the levees that were built, the storage that we've accounted for, are actually doing it. Now that the more impervious surface is going away, you have to model for that. You putting water on this desk or putting water in your plant, which one's going to get absorbed? So it's something that we need to look at, and it's something that we're doing. And hopefully when it's done, which I'm hoping later this summer, maybe early fall, just to give them some breathing room, we'll have a better idea, and hopefully it's in our favor. And if not, then we'll have to make some adjustments in some areas.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can pick up the phone, give us a call, 219-845-1100. We're here to answer those questions. And also, not only that, if you think of something after we're done today or down the road here, you can always contact the office at 219
595-0599.
And then if you go on our website, you can littlecalumetriverbasin.com. All our contact points are there. If you got a question, you can just shoot it to us, and we'll get back to you as expeditiously as possible.
I mean, you could even just email Tom and say, Tom, I have a question about you, whatever it is, or you can email us, or you can email all of them.
Or get some Rogaine or something like that.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I gave up on that when I think I was 23, so it's been some time since I've really had to go to get a haircut. But it's important for input from people. We get it from people all the time that walk the levees and say, hey, did you see this? Maybe did you try that? And more.
And that's important, because people see stuff. I mean, they're the beauty part of the way the system is set up right now is we've not only we're responsible for the flood stuff, but we always have some recreational parts of this. And there's walking paths up and down the river So if someone sees something, that might be out of the ordinary, or they see something that just doesn't look quite right, pick up the phone, call Dan, and say, hey, maybe you need to go check this out. And we've got partners along the river, whether it be with the town of Highland or the town of Griffith or the town of Munster or the city of Hammond. We're going to call on our partners to help us out to identify problems and get the stuff rectified immediately, because the last thing that this commission wants, and I'm speaking for myself, but I think I could probably
You probably speak for everybody.
yeah, we don't want another event like what happened in 2008. We always talked about that. What can we do to every day to make sure that that event is mitigated to the point where if we have that kind of rain, the water's going to flow through the system and get out to Lake Michigan the way it's supposed to.
Maintenance is number one, and
Because-
if you maintain it, that doesn't say that it's 100% foolproof that it's gonna not happen. But if we're at least maintaining it, and the culverts underneath the railroad tracks off of Martin Luther King are empty, and this is clear, then you've got a fighting chance. But then again, if they decide it was going to rain like it did in North Carolina or down in Tennessee, but we're aware of that too, and we'll make arrangements and say, hey, look, guys, we can't hold this anymore. You got to get out.
Yeah. The good news for us in our situation is with our partners over the state line in Illinois now, with the if you're driving down 294 and you look at the big Wind Creek Tower, but before you hit that, you got this huge quarry that can store millions and millions of gallons of water. That's a relief valve for the whole system. So if we get an event that potentially like a 2008 or worse, we can call on our partners and they open the flaps and fill the reservoir.
And the even better news is we already know when they open or when they get open. And what would be a good thing, I think we're going to podcasts in the future, is to have that individual come on, because it was really interesting to learn. They're like, well, that's actually Thorn Creek. How does that impact Little Cal? Well, Thorn Creek is a contributor to Little Cal, and if there's less water that's contributing to it, then that allows Little Cal to keep flowing. It's billions of gallons, and that wasn't online in 2008 fully.
No.
But now that it is, it's a huge thing, because we actually learned the lesson probably about 8 years ago when we were blocking off a street because it hit the magical number that we have to block off and try to sandbag, and all of a sudden water start going down, and we're like, we all looked at each other like, all right, well, something happened. And it was shortly after where we learned that they had opened the thing. And then we said, all right, well, we need to talk to you about this so we don't do this again. And we got the full tour. Actually, where the gate is, it's located right behind the Oasis. So if you know where the Oasis is, the gate that goes into those into the quarry is located right there. And I had the opportunity to go there. The shaft is like, I think, 300 and some feet down into the ground, and you could hear it, dropping into it. I'm like, it was impressive to see. I know you could take tours of it, but from our perspective, the amount of water that goes in there.
So basically what happens, folks, is at a certain point between the state line and Indianapolis Boulevard, the water flows two ways. One goes towards Lake Michigan, the other one goes towards the west, towards Illinois. So what Dan's talking about is there's like a huge gate that gets open at a certain point when the water level is at a certain point.
I think it's 9 feet. And we, by the way, we have that on our website. On our website, if you go to Thorn Creek in Thornton, which is what we gauge it at, if it hits 9 feet, and we marked it on the gauge, it will start spilling into the quarry.
At just for the flood level is 598, right?
For the most part, that's
598
a safe number.
is when things are going to go over. Most of the levees in Illinois are built that level or below.
Yeah, well, 598 is our action, but in Illinois, 598 causes them trouble.
Yeah,
and when we're talking about sea level, our levees are 600 in some places, 601.
So we're well above the 598. So
Yeah,
like,
598.
and I love
We
what
start doing
Dan
stuff.
water has, there's no geographical boundaries for water. So what happens is, let's say there's an event and they're at 600. Illinois, Cal City, and Lansing, and South Holland could be having serious issues, and we're protected. So they're going to most likely open those gates sooner than later to give those communities relief, which is going to also bring things down. So as far as secondary, it's almost like,
Yeah,
okay, I got belt and suspenders now, and God forbid anything were to happen at that gate, we're still good.
it's automatic. It's a spillover. So,
Yeah.
I mean, getting into the really weeds here. 598 is when we start doing things, closing things, and monitoring. 597 is when it tops over in Cal City, Lansing, and all my friends in Cal City, Lansing, I apologize. And there are some good people there. But the unfortunate thing is, water doesn't know what geopolitical lines, but unfortunately, states have geopolitical lines. And I believe I'm correct in this. The state of Illinois only allows you to build your levees to the 100-year flood elevation. Our levees are built to the 200-year elevation. So naturally we're higher. And even though Cal City and Lansing are going through an assessment process through the Corps very much like we do, their levees will never be as high as ours just because state law doesn't allow it, which, I mean, if I'm Lansing and Cal City, I'm screaming, like, hey, what are you doing? The people next to us have higher levees. But that's not an advantage. That's just what happens.
I grew up along the levee in Lansing, and I remember the floods of the 80s where the boats were coming down our street. Luckily, our house at the time was higher up than most of the houses that were built, and we never had an issue. But the guys were coming down. So if you've driven through Lansing along Bernice Road, the water was from Bernice Road all the way to the river. That was the river, and all the way down along the Little Calumet River. And on the Cal City side, it was worse because those are the old slab houses. The 3-bedroom.
A lot of my friends from
small little slab houses, and those things were completely underwater. And it was a sad time for a lot of people back then. And then they upgraded their levee system after that one.
And now the feds are coming in and doing that for Cal City, Lansing, I believe Dalton as well. But they still have internal issues, and I'm not going. I guess from their perspective.
Folks, the whole issue here is not only the levees but the maintenance as well.
Correct.
The trees that are in the river that are impeding the flow of the river.
The pumps that need to be
pump stations that go offline, and we're cognizant of that. The good news for our situation is before we being the new commission in 2009, there was no what do they call SCADA system.
No, each individual community had their own SCADA system, but we have ours.
There was no to tell you this pump was going bad or that pump was going bad, or there wasn't a formal. I mean, there was inspections, but not really. Okay, we're going to inspect these things. We're going to make sure they're working properly. We're going to exercise these things to make sure if there's ever an event that.
And to explain to the public what SCADA means, it's a version of your sump pump in your basement where the alarm will go off. So on my phone, the SCADA
alarm goes to your phone.
The SCADA will go to my phone immediately. So I will tell you the last event that we had, which was last Thursday, I think, there was a big storm that rolled through and it blew up mostly over Hammond and Gary. Well, the power went out at our Burn North station. Immediately my phone lights up as, hey, we've got failure.
And there's a generator.
And then the generator goes only when it's needed. So we've programmed the generator not to just go start the pumps when there's no need for the water. It only starts when it hits the certain level. It's a much better advancement than what everyone else has had. But everything is pretty much can be run off of a phone, something certainly notified off the phone.
And you go back 25 years ago, there was no such thing as an automatic transfer. There was no such thing as a remote start.
Nope.
And all that stuff, the technology has gotten so good that I'm not saying I'm comfortable with everything, but I know that at least we know when something's going awry. We've got a lot of checks and balances within the system to say, hey, I got a blockage here, or this pump is off, or this power's off at this station. And then you have the eyes and ears as well. So I mean, it's the good news from the standpoint of from 2008 to today is we made big strides
Yeah.
on the protecting of the properties and making sure that everybody's on notice that, hey, we're watching the store and making sure that everything is up to snuff.
In 2010, when I first started, when a storm would go through, I would go visit each station and make sure that they were on, because we had no ability. I mean, we didn't have the ability, didn't have the money, didn't have anything to do that. Now, that's all that stuff gets communicated back to us. Not only myself, but our contractor that does the electric, because as Tom Gaz says, I'm not qualified to be doing electric, and I'm not qualified to do electric. But at the time, that's what we had, so that's what you did. On a good news front, for folks, we're gonna get some approvals here from the Corps from my last Friday meeting. I know it. Trust me, I'm as frustrated as anybody sitting in those meetings. You just keep on getting the same news, but they have said that some bank stabilization work that we have to do that was started in 23. We'll get a permit here hopefully by the fall, and I say hopefully because it's not in my hands.
I mean, the sad reality of the situation, folks, is some of these projects that have been the hopper that we're waiting on permits from the Corps go back 2 years.
Plus,
which is,
2 plus.
Which in our realm, most of the people that sit on the commission come from the private sector. We don't wait 2 years for a permit. We get a permit in like 2 days.
Or you just don't get it and you just do it.
Yeah, this is just mind-boggling, and people wonder why people are so frustrated with government, because there's no sense of urgency in getting stuff done, and some of this stuff is very
straightforward.
It's all common sense stuff, and sometimes you think they're just dragging their feet on purpose because this is what we do, and it's just unacceptable to us, the commission. And we've had our falling outs and combative
the internal disagreements that you have
meetings,
on how to do it.
But we've always had a cordial relationship with the Army Corps, and we still do. We just wish that
it sometimes gets spicy a little bit.
They would focus on turning around things a little bit quicker, because we want to get stuff done for the people. We have the resources to do it, and making sure that the maintenance is being done is primary in what we do. That's what we do. We can't wait for. Sometimes you're like, why is this happening? Why is this taking so long? Because we're ready to go.
And I have to answer to the board, and I'm sitting there trying to, with a straight face, going, I don't know what's taking so long. I'll give you a classic example. We talked about it 1,000,000 times. Is the sandbar, and we're like, this is common sense, and they've got to check a bunch of boxes, and it's like, eventually.
So when we talk about the sandbar, folks, if you're driving over Kennedy Avenue Bridge and you look west, what's happening is over time, because of all the construction and development down upstream, I'll say, through Dyer and St. John, the silt from the bottom of Hart's Ditch travels, and it just deposits at a certain point, which is, we call it the sandbar, and we want to remove it because it causes an impedance in the river. It doesn't need to be there. And it keeps on getting bigger and bigger. It's clean. It's just silty sand that just needs to be taken out and put somewhere else.
So when we get to
and we have every excuse in the book why we can't do it. Like this is nonsense, and it's mostly frustrating to us.
When we go to podcast mode, I think we'll be able to get into bigger details and drill into it and say, all right, we're going to just talk about, because we can only touch on. We have a half hour.
Right.
Some people say, well, you talk about this. Well, if you want to, I'll talk to you about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
all day long.
And I listen to podcasts where they get really down in the weeds, and it's 1.5 2 hours long.
Yes,
but they're really getting down to the nitty gritty. Talking about engineering issues and and why are certain things taking so long, and why are we doing this, and does it make sense,
and we'll bring on the core, and I would love to. You guys could experience, or the listeners would be able to experience the phone calls that I have to sit on, or the Zoom meetings, or the Teams meetings.
It's just you go back in time, and I have history because I've been on the commission.
You may start crying.
2009, and we've had numerous times where we had meetings, and they come up and they propose something, and the beautiful part is you got at the time 5 gentlemen that with various backgrounds in construction and engineering, and we start asking questions that are logical, and they start hemming and hawing because they're like, no one's ever called you guys on the carpet and said, why are you doing this, and why does it make sense? And because it was always, it's my way or the highway, and it was kind of funny when it first started happening, and it was like, okay, then they would stop coming to the meetings because they knew that this is not going to make sense, and these guys aren't going to put up with that.
I know we're short on time, but I will tell you this, and you don't know, but I had a great conversation over an hour long with one of the original 5 members of you guys were the Beatles or whatever, Mr. McCarran, who came in after the 2008 flood. He's now since retired from Indiana DNR, moved to Charleston. But
people don't realize what an impact that man has had on this project.
He's coming to town,
and he's coming to
town, and he's coming to town to do the interview with Jimmy and Paul for the 2008 documentary. Because, from my understanding, and I haven't heard the interview, from what people told me, that when they went to interview former Governor Mitch Daniels, who along with Congressman Visclosky reconstituted the board and came up with some deal, and he said, this can't happen. We got to fix this board. And basically, Ron was chosen, or as he said, he missed the meeting and was volunteered to come up here to
You're the guy.
Fix this. And so there are some great stories, and he's coming to town. He said he hasn't been back in a couple of years, and he wants to see all the different projects. And so I told him,
you have to give me the date because I'm going to specifically take that day off. So
he gave me his dates of he has 2 things he has to do. He has to go to Disney, and he has to go to his class reunion.
Okay.
And after that, he said he'd be in between. So anyway, sorry about that. We should probably close.
Fantastic. And we can close on that point. There's individuals that have been associated with this thing after the 2008 flood, and I can honestly say without reservation that Ron McCarran is probably the most impactful person when it came to accomplishing this and finally getting it done than anybody that sat on the board, because he was the bulldog that kept pushing the core. And we owe a huge debt of gratitude, and the people in Northwest Indiana owe a huge debt of gratitude to that gentleman, because he was relentless.
I wish I could take video of some of the meetings that we're at.
He ate, breathed, and slept the project.
And he lived in Greenwood, Indiana. Just remember that.
He would drive up from Greenwood, Indiana once a month for these meetings, and sometimes more than that, to make sure this thing got done. And, yeah.
Anyways, everyone from the original, we all have good stories, and we'll hopefully those stories will come through on the documentary. And I know, Tom, you're going to schedule your time, and I think they're up to 40, 50 interviews at this point, so this should be a doozy. So, anywho, looks like folks, Munster must have missed the July 1st.
Yeah, I think they missed their calling today, but I want to wish everybody happy Independence Day. We're coming up on 250 years next year of our independence.
This Friday.
I remember the bicentennial like it was yesterday, because it was probably the funnest 4th of July I was ever. I mean, it was.
Well, you're also about 10 at that time, right?
But I was, who knows?
You had the sparklers and the smoke bombs.
They were still had the cherry bombs and the M80s and all that good stuff.
Everyone, be careful. That's number one. Let professionals do this.
The nation celebrated like I had never seen anything in my lifetime. I was a young guy, but when people start, the younger people, when they get to the tricentennial, they're going to see just
We're going to get to the.
We live in a great country, folks, and there's disagreements, but this idea called the United States of America is pretty special.
Never pretty.
No, it's not pretty, but What do they say? It's not pretty when the sausage is getting made.
Don't want to watch it. Anyways, enjoy plenty of hot dog sausage and everything else you're
Enjoy the
eating.
4th of July, folks. Be safe out there, and we will see you next month.